Hello, and welcome to the Collect Your Life Incorporated podcast. I'm your host, Janessa A. Henderson. I am so glad you decided to join us today. So, let's get into the episode. This is the season finale of season 3. We'll be back after this. You know, we're not taking too much of a break, but we'll be back. This is season finale, though. Episode 16. All right. So, this episode is titled I Can Do Bad by Myself, Restoration After Divorce. Listen, the title alone is, it's giving what it needs to give, in the good way, not in not in a bad way, but it's giving what it needs to give. I'm going to be transparent, but also cautious because I don't want to. I wouldn't say. Okay, let me get my words together. So I don't want it to seem like I'm bashing anyone. That's what I want to say, because this is not that type of podcast. But I am going to just state the facts. Let me just say that, okay? So again, anytime you listen to the podcast, I always say this is not a substitute for therapy. So please get you a therapist because I am not her. I am just a person who's gone through many life experiences that God has instructed me to do a podcast. So I'm going to continue to do it. I'm going to trust God. Okay. All right. So again, I Can Do Bad by Myself, Restoration After Divorce. So if you've been a faithful listener, if you listen even in the first season, you know that I am divorced. Okay. Me, Janessa A. Henderson, is a divorcee. Okay. So let me just say, like, even if you haven't been a faithful member of the Collect Your Life. Nah, but if you haven't been a faithful listener of the Collect Your Life podcast, basically I just encourage you to go back to the first season. Even the second season, I talk about it when I'm talking about dating after divorce. In this season, I talk about it. It's not like it's a banner, and I'll get into that. I don't want to go ahead of what I have in, place, but it's not a banner or like thing that I want to wave around like I'm divorced. And I'll get into that. So, all right. So I was in love or whatever, y'all know me, y'all know I'm from Memphis. So if I sound country, that's why. If I say Maine, that's why, because that's a colloquial word we use here. But don't let that colloquialism fool you. Your girl is degreed out here and finna have the last degree, a doctorate of education pretty soon. Okay, so don't let my colloquialism fool you. I am educated, and I teach and highly effective teacher at that. So please just, this is just my time to chill, lay my hair down. I can turn it on, turn it off, just for any newcomers listening to this episode. All right, so let's get into it. So I got married. I'm not gonna go into the details. I got married. I was in love. I was young, whatever. And I heard the Lord say, wait. But I was just like, Lord, are you sure? Like, and clearly disobedient. All right. So I got married. And then in the marriage, it wasn't what it wasn't a kingdom Christ-like marriage. I wasn't being loved like Christ loved the church. Simply put, there was times of frustration and abuse, and there were times of strain and a lot of strongholds and a lot of anger, a lot of stuff going on within. And I realized that wasn't that wasn't not Proverbs. My God, that wasn't First Corinthians love. You know, the love that is described in the Bible. That wasn't what it was. So I kept praying, y'all. I know the Lord was tired of me. Like, I know, you know how we you be looking at your child like, I know, you know, why would you ask this question? You know, like, what, you know, why would you continue to ask and petition and you know the answer to it? Like, but I kept praying. I was like, Lord, I don't want to break this covenant. You know, what should I do? The Lord been giving me sign after sign. Every time I asked God for a sign, a visible, tangible sign, he would provide it. But I was ignoring it, y'all. Like, cray. All right, anyway, because I know y'all don't like to listen long, so let me hurry up, get to it, because y'all, after 30 minutes, all right, girl, okay, I got 5 minutes in, all right, anyway, so, yeah, like, but for real, I was obedient, not obedient, I was definitely not obedient, I was disobedient, because I kept asking God for a sign, he kept providing it, and I was like, Lord, are you sure? Listen. Never again will I be in that situation. You know what? God? What you say, go. All right. Just like with producing this podcast. And I'm like, God, you sure you want me to keep going? You don't want me to stop? He like, daughter, keep producing. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, God. I got you. Like, I got you, Jesus. All right. I'm going to listen, you know, because I ain't got no choice but to listen. Like, after you hear this, you're going to be like, girl, you better obey everything. Even if I hadn't went through this, we still got to obey. But anyway, like, yeah, but anyway. All right. So, back to it. Focus. Okay. So, yeah. I was disobedient, y'all. Like, just kept asking. Like, I know it was years. I can count. It was like maybe at least 4 years in the latter part of my marriage where I was praying and asking God, should I leave? Like, this keep happening. It's a cycle. It is not stopping. It's not a stop to the cycle. It's just keep happening in different forms. Like, things keep happening. It yada, yada, yada. God, I know that, you know, covenants are put together. I know and that was when, like, I stopped. I was like, Lord, I know I can't change him. I know only you can change him. So I'm like, God, praying for him, you know, that he would change and everything. The Lord is telling me to leave, okay? God is saying leave. Like, if he change him, it's going to be on his own. But he's telling me to leave. He's giving me permission. I'm still not listening. Conceive a child and get pregnant. And I'm like, okay, God, maybe you saying this is state. Like, because you don't want broken family, broken homes or whatever. So, you know, whatever. Go through pregnancy, yada, yada, yada. Go through all that. Turn 30. When you become a mother and you turn 30, because so I became a mother at 29. Okay, I still was a mother in my 20s. Look at God. But I'm a mother in my 30s. Lord, I'm showing my age. Anyway, I'm still young out here. Still get mistaken as a student. Anyway, so I had my daughter in May. I was 29. December, I turned 30. Them two together, those two realizations, you know, those two major transitions in your life, it's like the Lord, it's like a light bulb that switch. Boom. And you like, God, I'm not standing for this. I know. And even then, like, I was still trying, like, in the month of December, because I didn't leave to February of the next year. But, you know, it's still December. I'm like, God, X, Y, and Z, I know you saw this happen. So, what is, like, me at this time point, I'm like, God, I know I've been disobedient, because this ain't supposed to happen. This is not supposed to be it. And God, these thoughts I have. And the Lord was like, daughter, remove yourself. I still stayed until the beginning of the new year. And then, y'all see my disobedience, okay? Don't judge me too hard, because y'all been disobedient sometimes too. Okay, let's just be honest. So, yeah. Again, let me just say this too. I grew up in a 2-parent household. So I think I know what also was driving me to stay was fear, because I didn't know how I was going to do things by myself, even though I slick kind of was, but we'll get into that. But I didn't know, excuse me, ooh, my throat. I didn't know how I was going to do things by myself. It was fear, like I don't know how single motherhood is going to be. I don't know how, like, I would date again, like if I, like how fear was crippling me. Okay, fear and everything, and then also pride, because I'm like, I don't want to stain my family name. I don't want my parents to be like, have two kids who've been divorced. Like at the time, my brother had been divorced, so it was like my parents were married 44 years before my dad passed. This is the blueprint that I have, okay? A 44-year rock solid marriage. There may have been turbulence, there may have been times of turmoil, but Grady and Almeida were always together, okay? My mama cared for my daddy through his dementia, everything. So I'm just like, and my dad, I saw this as a child. So I'm like, and then also excuse me, I am a believer of God's word. I made a covenant. I made a vow. I made a covenant with the Lord and this man. Okay? And I'm like, okay, God, I know you telling me to do this. Because I wanted to make sure it was truly God. I wanted to make sure it was not my flesh saying, because my flesh left 5 years ago. To be honest, if I'm being honest, my flesh had left 2 years in the marriage. Okay? So like, it was like, Lord, is this you? Okay? Because actually my flesh left that first year. But anyway, that's meant, but then I had to come back and forgive, whatever. So anyway, fast forward. So December, when I turned 30, I'm still like, okay, God, I need a sign. God gives me a sign in January. Still stay. All right, God, I need a sign. I need to know that it's you. Like, I need to know that you are telling me this. So February comes, and I get a sign. At that point, I was at my breaking point to leave. It was a time to leave. And it was God's appointed time for me to leave at that time. I left and I ain't went back. Okay. So I left and, I didn't know how, like, I just took a step. I didn't know, y'all, like, what was gonna come my way, but I knew that I heard the voice of the Lord several times. Okay, the Lord had told me multiple times, but I was like, okay, God, I didn't trust the God in me to be like, okay, is this really God? Is this the Lord? But that last time, oh, that was it. I was like, okay, God, I see you. I hear you loud and clear right here. Right now, in my mind, when the situation was going on, when the sign was unfolding, I was like, okay, God, thank you. Thank you so much. So, yeah. So I left in February 2020. Okay. As you know, if you've been in the United States or been in the world, you've been alive. March of 2020 is when the pandemic, unfolded. So I couldn't file for divorce in February because I had moved to Mississippi. So I had moved back to Tennessee. So, and I moved in with my brother. I was so gracious that he allowed my daughter and I to stay in until I got myself on my feet and found me a place of my own. But yeah, the pandemic hit. And then my legal ramifications told me that I could not file yet because I had to wait a certain amount of time in the state of Tennessee. Okay. So I was like, all right, I'm still stuck legally married to him, to my ex, but could not file for divorce. Then we get in the pandemic and the courts are shut down. You can't do nothing. So I think about it, even if I I would have been in even more turmoil because I would have filed and would have been even more upset. And it was at the time that I needed to file, okay? So, all right, let's move on. So, because it's 15 minutes in and I know y'all like to tussle. All right. So, but I know this might be juicy, so maybe y'all stay in, okay? So, I'm over here. It's February, 2020. We're going through the pandemic and everything. I'm trying to find a house. I found a house, and I moved in June of 2020. So I stayed with my brother from March into June. And I was so, like I said, so grateful for my brother, my big brother. Actually, I think I moved in July. So March to June, February to June, I stay with my brother. And I appreciate him. He's, a great big brother. And I appreciate him for allowing myself and my daughter to stay in. In that time, the enemy really came in my mind like, okay, you can't find nobody else. This. It was so much being like coming in my mind. It was like, you failed. You're a failure. You married and you're a failure. You're just a failure. It was like a repeat in my mind every day during the course of this whole time. Like, it was for a while. It was like for a good couple months, and then I was like, you know what? That's in the past. That Janessa is in the past. That person who was married is in the past. I am a new creature. So in August of 2020, I got rebaptized. When I say when I go back and watch it, because that was 3 years ago, I go back and watch it and it just gives me chills, and I just, go up in tongues because I'm like, God, that was the start of the new Janessa. And there will still be more transformations and transitions throughout this period of divorce and, throughout this, this journey. So, all right, because I don't want to hold y'all, because I know y'all tipping on out, baby, tipping out the church. All right, so then I finally am able to, so I was advised to, have to do like child support court. We have to do that first, and it's separate from divorce court. You could do it in divorce court, but it's just easier in child support. Okay, so I did that. That date was set for December. Okay, we still in pandemic. Now, mind you, I had did that in March before the pandemic. So that court date got pushed to December because of the pandemic. All right. We get to like August or whatever. I still haven't filed yet because my advising was told not to file yet. And I'll, specifics, if you want specifics, I could talk to you on the individual basis. But just for legal ramifications, I was, told to wait to file yet. So I waited to file, but because I just needed that child support. So, yeah. We get to like November. All right. Like, I'm so excited because I'm like, okay, it's finally happening. This is going to be taking place. We had already signed documents, everything had been, all this stuff. We had already signed the marital dissolution agreement. Now I can't say that, because that's general information. So we signed that. We signed all these things, and we get an email. I get a text message. I was like, I don't even know if this is true. Is this for real? Because it wasn't like a 901 number. Because I'm from Memphis, if you know 901, man. So I'm like, it wasn't a 901 number. It wasn't like, it looked like it was Spanish. And to be honest, then I got an email that said the same thing. So I was like, okay. So the court date in December, that was all on Zoom. Okay, let me keep that in mind. Was all on Zoom because the cases of COVID had increased so much. It got pushed back to March of 2021. Y'all, I took a pause because I was like, we was all on Zoom. That was my first thought. I was like, but we all on Zoom. Why? My mind was like, we all on Zoom. Why is it pushed back? But I didn't think, that maybe, people were sick who were participating in it or whatever. But I was like, my first thought was like, we all on Zoom. How is this not? Y'all is trying to, I was at that point, I got anger rose up, started to rise up. And I was trying to keep anger down. I was like, Lord, but God had me in a waiting process. Okay, He had to prune me and get me in the way that He needed me to go. I had to learn different things about myself and just about life, period, and just had to fall off from that stigma of this is a failure. Because no, you were just disobedient, and you love somebody, and you were just disobedient. So it's not a failure. It may be a failed marriage, but you're not a failure. That's what God had to keep ringing in my mind. So I had to go through this process because it ain't no telling who I could have attracted. During this time, I was talking to people who, whatever. But it wasn't like, I was like, I'm in the process of a divorce, yada, 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 when I would talk to them. But it wasn't promising. It wasn't who I, supposed to be talking to anyway. So anyway, fast forward to March 2021. At this time in January, I had filed because in the legal, my legal counsel, I had filed. So I'm like, okay, March, March, we're gonna have this little, child support court, and then, then according to the timeline, it would have been April when we should have had the court for divorce. My ex-husband didn't have to go because I filed and it was non-contested, or whatever. And so like there wasn't anything we had to discuss except for our daughter. And so that's why we had the child support. Parent plan, everything, everything going well. God said, I'm gonna have her wait some more. I was like, Lord, because I was not ready. I was not ready to be released yet. And I was like, God, are you serious out here? Like, what is going on? It was so much anxiety during this time. Like, my anxiety was high. I had bouts of depression because I was just like, I don't want to be married to this man no more legally. Like, I was like, even if I get a boyfriend, say I meet somebody, a boyfriend or somebody, or get in a relationship, I can't even move forward with them because I'm still in the process of the divorce. Like, my thing was, I'm not going to, yes, I was in the process of the divorce. Yes, he was like, spiritually, he was not my husband, okay? And the Lord, or whatever. But in the covenant was already broken. But the thing was, in the legal mindset, I was still that. If something had happened to him or me, he would have been legally responsible. It's like, just like he would have been my husband legally. And I was like, God, please don't, Lord, I know it ain't my time to go, but please don't let me go. Please don't let him go. Like, because I'm not finna pay for no funeral because I don't have it. Like, whatever. Like, I was just, God, it was so much going through my mind. It was like, oh my God. Like, and then also, during this, I'm transitioning as a single mother. Like, not a single parent, because I feel like single mother is like, because I'm single, that's my status. We were co-parenting okay in the beginning. I think there was some bitterness on both our ends that needed to be healed. So yeah, that got healed or whatever, and it's a better situation now. But I will say that I was like, well, I like having bills and doing stuff on my own. I said, well, I was doing that really during the marriage. So it wasn't really like anything was different as far as taking care of a household. or whatever. But I still didn't have that, what if that person has me, somebody had my back in a partnership. But I really didn't have a partnership in marriage. So it was like, okay, I can do this because the Lord has graced me for it. And I feel like the Lord had me go through that situation too. He turned it, how the Lord turns stuff around for your good. All that time during the marriage where I was doing it, taking care of stuff by myself mostly, the Lord was pruning me and molding me into where he has me now, where I'm taking care of the bills by myself. I'm doing everything by myself because he knew it was going to be a season. Ooh, Jesus, where I was going to be doing this by myself. Okay. So anyway, I'm sorry. I felt the Holy Spirit and I almost went in tongues, and I didn't want to lose listeners because I know that, some of y'all, haven't been delivered yet. But anyway, let's go forward, to where we are. All right. So I'm in April of 2021. We supposed to have a court date, y'all. I'm so we supposed to have a court date. COVID, we done been back to school. They got me back in school. I'm like, the courts can be open. What is wrong? And then the crazy thing is, the court for child support was on Zoom. Okay, everybody I'm seeing on Zoom. I'm like, why this couldn't happen in December? I was really mad. I was like, why couldn't this happen in December? And so I'm like, well, I'm thankful that it happened. Got that moving forward. That's a stepping stone. All right, so then we moved to. We just waited. We in a waiting period. We're in a waiting period. And I promise my anxiety was high. I was like, Lord. And then the agreement that we signed has a certain amount of days. Now it's been filed and everything properly, done everything properly, but it has a certain amount of days attached to it. So we had to go back and do an amended one because we hadn't had court yet. So we had to go back and do an amended marital dissolution agreement, or extended, or some, I don't know if I'm saying it right. I know marital dissolution agreement is what it was, but I don't know if it's amended or extended. It's something of that nature. We had to go do that. Because what? The court wasn't open. All right. So we go do that. We go sign that again or whatever. All right. I'm still anxious because we still ain't got no court date. We ain't heard from nobody. Nobody. At that point in the month of May, I was calling the court every other day. I was like, okay, is this on the docket? This court. I had the court case number, everything. Telling them everything. They were like, "Are you the lawyer?" I was like, "No, I'm the defendant because I'm trying to get divorced." I was so anxious and ready to move on. Not saying that I had anybody, because I didn't have, somebody lined up. I did not. It was just a stressful time. I was like, I'm trying to be free. Okay? Spiritually, I'm free. Physically, I'm free. Mentally, because of this, but mentally and legally, I was not free because I'm still legally married to this man. So it was a lot. It was like, okay, God, this is a whole process, but okay, I'll trust you. And so I just stopped because when I say in May, I was calling that court. I knew the court number. I don't even know the number by heart, but at the time I knew the case number and whatever number, docket number, whatever it's supposed to be, by heart. Okay. I shouldn't have known that. Okay. Why? Because I wasn't even it was just calling. Okay. Is this going to be on is this set? Is this court date set? What is going on? And it was just so much, but we didn't there in the division that we had filed, there wasn't a judge. And so he had been elected, but he didn't start until a certain time. So I think that all had a lot to do with it, but I know it was God's plan because it was pruning me and I had to wait. I had to go through the process, and it was just okay, I see what you're doing, God. I don't think I like it, but I see what you're doing, and I'm gonna just trust you. That's where I was at that moment. And so I finally relinquished control. And I gave it to God. So July, in the beginning of July, I'm working summer school. I get an email that says, this is your court date. July 27th. And I was just like, God. I know I was crying because I had waited for so long. Y'all, let's go back. Let's look at the timeline. I left in February of 2020. At the time I left, I had stayed past my expiration date, okay? We already said this, okay? So when I left, I was ready to be divorced that year, that day. But because of COVID, it didn't happen. And because God allowed me to go through this process, I was like, really like, Lord, it's been a long time coming. So I left in February of 2020. My divorce did not happen. It wasn't final until July of 2021. Like, that was a lot, okay? It was a whole year since I left. In February, I was like, Lord, I left in February. Like, and then it was just so much going on in my life, mentally, physically, just so much. I thought I had a heart scare. Like, I had to go get an echocardiogram. Like, all this stuff was going on. My dad, I was helping my mom caretake for my dad at the time. And it was just a lot going on, y'all. Like, mentally, it was such a draining process. But when I got it, I was like, yes, God, I know. And at the time, I didn't know that, so much was going to take place afterwards. So like, I got divorced July of 2021 and my dad passed in August of 2021. It was like, wow, a lot of stuff happened. Like, I was already in my doctoral program. I started that in July of 2020. And so I'm like, God, this has been a whole mind-blowing process. But like, mentally, I felt so bad. Oh, we at the 30-minute mark. Please stay with me. Okay, I got a few more minutes. Okay, y'all. But mentally, it was so draining going through the process because you're grieving a marriage. You're grieving the life that you saw with that person. You're having to go through so much, like so much therapy, so much deliverance service. Like, it was so much. But because I knew, like, something in me knew that I was going to marry again, it was just like, okay, I've got to go through this to be healed. And like, I was healed from the past hurt, but then I also had to heal, like, even, okay, so July of 2021, I had to heal from the whole process. Like, the whole process, I was maybe in a fence, like, or whatever. I had to heal fully. Like, it was a process, and I fully healed and went through that cycle and like ended it in July of 2023. Like, 2 years later, like, I have completely healed from that whole situation. I used to be like quick to say, when people would be like, what's your marital status? I would be like, divorced. Or like when they would see Carrie and they would, be looking for a spouse, and I'm like, yeah, I'm divorced. Like, quick to say it because I didn't want the stigma of like, you're just a single mother, you just got a baby daddy or whatever. No, I was a whole wife out here. Or I am a wife because I'm a wife to somebody else. I don't, know him yet. But anyway, but yeah, like, it was that stigma, and I didn't want that around my child. Like, even when she went to school, like, I was gonna keep his last name, and then I was like, the Lord was like, no, you come out of agreement with that. You're out of covenant. You don't agree with his name. You don't have that. And only people who are kingdom minded will understand. If you don't, you're not kingdom minded. Then I pray that you will become kingdom minded. But it's like, when you have somebody's name, that means you agree with it. I named the name of Christ because I agree with Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I'm not going to name any other name other than the name of Jesus Christ because that's my Lord and Savior. So that's the same thing with when you're in a covenant with somebody. A covenant has to do with God. All right. Jesus. All right. So when you're in a covenant with somebody and that covenant is broken and it was, dissolved, as mine was, then why would I still have his name? That's not my name. That's not who I am. And so I'm quick to tell people, and they look at it in a comical way, and I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm just like, that's not my name anymore. I don't know who she is, because I'm not that person that I was when I left in February 2020. I'm not the girl that got married in May of 2024. Not 2024, because it's 2024 coming up. I'm not the girl who got married in May of 2014. I'm not the girl who left in February of 2020. I'm not the woman who got divorced in July of 2021. I'm not that person. And so I am Janessa A. Henderson, not the person my former person who I was before. And so this whole process of healing is just becoming the woman that I was stifled, that was shut down, that was put away, that the Lord, I have become so much in this season of singleness. I've dealt with so much with dating. That's ghetto. But anyway, we've had 2 podcasts about that. We'll probably do another one because it's ghetto out here. But I am restored. I am who God wants me to be. I am becoming and continue to become the woman and the daughter that God has for me. Has me to be. Not has for me, but has me to be. And honestly, it was all necessary. If I'm being honest, everything was necessary for my journey. Like I say, everything turns around and works out for your good, which is biblical. The Lord, everything that I've dealt with has been for my good. Every disappointment, every abuse, everything that I've gone through has been for my good. Every struggle, everything has been for my good. And I'm so grateful to be restored. That's why I say I can do bad by myself, but I'm not saying I can do bad like or whatever. I'm saying that through Christ, I can do all things. Through him, I can do all things. So I'm good. The Lord has restored me. So this is Janessa 2.0. I'm not the girl, again, who got married in 2014. I'm not the woman who left in 2020. I'm not even the woman who got divorced in 2021. I'm a whole new creature. And I am so grateful that God can restore the years that seem to be lost. Because you think about it, when you go through divorce, you think that, oh, I lost years, I wasted time with this person, yada, yada, yada. But no, that was a pruning process, and it was a part of my journey. Because the Lord knew I was going to disobey, because he gives us free will. So I'm like, now God, I'm like, okay, if the person ain't your will, remove them. And the people be falling away like flies. Because God said, for me in this next season, it's not going to be is this the person from God? I'm not going to keep having, like, y'all remember, like I said in the story, I kept asking God for a sign. I'm not going to have to keep asking God for a sign. I'm going to know it's God. Like, directly when I see whoever my husband is, the Lord is going to be a divine intervention. Okay? And so I want anyone who's listening, who's going through divorce or going through separation, to know that God can restore you, your mind, mentally. Yes, it may be a process. It is going to be ugly. Okay? You're going to cry and be like, why am I crying? Like, it was just like certain things I had to even throw away, because I threw away my wedding dress, y'all, because it was like, that dress is, I don't need it. I had it in a preservation kit and everything. Like, and then I threw away gifts and just different things, because it was like, why am I holding on to this? This is not, there's no need for me to hold on to these things. Or different things that brought up memories. All right, give it to Goodwill. Give these clothes away, because they don't service me. They're not who I am. And so I was like, I am truly restored. Like, God has blessed me. He has truly restored my soul. And I'm just grateful for my health, my wealth. I'm just grateful because y'all, the Lord, in Psalms 51:12, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, it basically says, restore to me the joy of your salvation, uphold me with a willing spirit. God will restore the joy. He will restore years, but he'll restore your joy. He'll restore your peace. He'll restore his love to you. Like, you have to really understand, when you're single, you are married to God. He's your bridegroom. So you are the bride. And so I'm like, I had to really come back. I was like, wait, I'm single, but no, I am married to God. And I was like, until whoever the Lord has ordained for me comes. So I'm like, I'm really restored, God. Like, you really restored me. Like, I was thinking the other day, like, I have gone through so much in this process of healing, and I didn't realize it was going to take, even after the divorce, like, being finalized in 2021, that I was going to go through 2 years of healing still. Like, 2 years of deliverance, of being set free from things and mindsets and things, and becoming who I am, who the Lord has called for me to be. Like, I didn't know it was gonna take that much time, but it was necessary for my journey. Like, so necessary. So I am grateful for this time. I hope that this helps someone. We only made like 40 some minutes, y'all. So I hope y'all stayed in the church and didn't tip out on me. But yes, this was I Can Do Bad by Myself, Restoration After Divorce. And I hope that this helps someone. I hope that this bless you. And I'll see you next time.